Hello, hello. Welcome to Blessed Be the Gift, the 1 year Bible, reading the King James Version in 365 readings. We are on January 9th. Where is the time going by, you guys? Seems like it's taking forever, but yet it's going by super fast. I'm not really sure. Um, so I got a lot going on, and I have to be at work extra, extra early in the morning. So I am thinking I want to get this all read and be done with it for tonight. Let's see. It looks like it's one, two, three, four, almost 4.5 pages long here. So I think we are on January 9th. I don't know why I wrote it down as if I had already read January 9th, but that was 8th yesterday and it's not written down, but I think I just marked it in the wrong spot. So I think we're still good for January 9th. So let's get started. Genesis 21 through 22, 24. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur and journeyed in Gerar. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Amalek king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Amalek in a dream by night and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. But Amalek had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, She is my sister? And she herself said, He is my brother. In the iniquity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in integrity of thy heart. For I also withheld thee from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, now thou shalt not surely die, thou and all are thine. Therefore Amalek rose early in the morning, and called all of his servants, and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. Then Amalek called Abraham, and said unto him, What hast thou done unto us? And what I have offended thee, that thou hast brought me and on my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me, and ought not to be done. And Amalek said unto Abraham, What sawest thou, and what thou hast done this thing? And Abraham said, Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and that they will slay me for my wife's sake. And yet indeed she is my sister, and is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, and I said unto her, This is the kindness which thou shalt shew unto me at every place, whether he shall come say of me, He is my brother. And Amalek took sheep and oxen and men servants and women servants, and gave them all unto Abraham, and restored him Sarah his wife. And Amalek said, Behold, my land is before thee, dwell where thee pleaseth thee. And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee covering of the eyes unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Thus she reproved. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Amalek and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Amalek because of Sarah Abraham's wife. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham's son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken unto him. And Abraham called his name the son that was born unto him, who Sarah beareth to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, and as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old, and his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, so that is what I hear will laugh with me. And she said, who would have him unto Abraham, that Sarah would have given children suck? For I have borne him a son his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast for the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, Cast out thou bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be here with my son, even with Isaac. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And God said unto Abraham, Let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad and because of the bondwoman, and all that Sarah hath said unto thee. Hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called. And also the son of the bondwoman will make a nation because of thy seed. And Abraham arose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her own shoulder and the child, and sent her away. And she departed, and wandered into the wilderness of the Beersheba. And the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. And she went, and she sat down over against him a good way off, as it were a bow shot for the Lord. For she said, Let me not see the death of a child. And she sat over against him, and lifted up her voice, and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of God called unto Hagar out of heaven, and said unto her, What aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up that lad, and hold him in thy hand, and I will make him a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went, and she filled the bottle with water, and gave the lad a drink. And God was with the lad, and he grew, and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of the Paran. And his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass that at that time that Amalek and Philo, the chief captain of his host, spake against Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me here that by God, that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done for thee, and thou shalt do unto me, and unto the land wherein thou hast scorned. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Amalek because of his well of the water, which Amalek's servants had violently taken away. And Amalek said, I wot not who had done this thing, neither didst thou tell me, neither yet heard of it but today. And Abraham took sheep and oxen, and gave it unto Amalek, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set forth 7 lambs of the flock by themselves. And Amalek said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 lamps which hast set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 lambs shall be taken of my hand, that they be witness unto me, and I have digged this well. Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they swear both of them. Thus they made a covenant of Beersheba. And Amalek rose up, and Philoclo, the chief captain of his host, and returned into the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. And it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham, he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take thee now thy son, thy only Isaac, thou whom you lovest, and give thee into the land of Moriah. Offer him there a burnt offering upon the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, saddled his ass, and took two of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went into the place which God had told him. And then on the third day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. Abraham said to his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I will, and me and the lad will go up yonder and worship, and come against you, or come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac and his son, and he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they both went up of them together. And Isaac spake against Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire of the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for the burnt offering. So they both went up to, together, and they came to the place which God had told them of. And Abraham built the altar there, and laid the wood on the altar, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him upon the offer upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. The angel of the Lord called out unto him in heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. He said, Here I am. And he said, Lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do you do anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes, and looked, and behold him a ram caught in the thickest of the thorns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up as a burnt offering instead of his son. Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh, as the Lord as said, to this day, in the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven and the second time, and said, By myself I have sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, that in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed, and the stars of the heaven, and the sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up, and they went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told to Abraham, saying, Behold, Malachi, she hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor, Huz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, and Jazd, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jalaph, and Bethel. And Bethel begat Rebekah. These 8 Malachi did bear to Nahor, Abram's brother, and his concubine, those names was Ramah, and she bare also Tebeh, and Gahem, and Thesh, and Malachi, not Malachi, Machi. Matthew 7:15-29. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Yet shall they know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs, or thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Even tree that bringeth not fruit, good fruit, is strewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by the fruits ye shall know them. Not every one saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he that dwelleth in the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say unto me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in the name have they cast out devils? And in the name done many wonderful works? And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, yet your work in iniquity. Therefore, whoever heareth these things, saying of mine, and doth them, I will liken them unto wise men, which built this house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat up on the house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And every one that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon the house, and it fell, and a great was the fall of it. And it came to pass, when Jesus had ended these things, the people were astonished at his doctrine, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. Psalm 9, 1 through 12. I will praise thee, O Lord, with my whole heart. I will shew forth all of thy marvelous works. I will be glad and rejoice in thee, for I will sing praise to thy name, O thou most high. When mine enemies are turned back, and they shall fall and perish at the presence. For thou hast maintained my right hand, and caused thou sattest in the throne, judging night. Thou hast rebuked thy heathen, thou hast destroyed thy wicked, thou hast put in their name for ever and ever. O thou enemy, destructions are come to perpetual end, and thou hast destroyed cities, their memorial is perished with them. But the Lord shall endure forever. He hath prepared his throne for judgment. He shall judge the whole world in righteousness. He shall minister judgment to the people in uprightness. The Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. For thou, Lord, hast not forsaken them that seek him. Sing praises unto the Lord, which is dwelleth in Zion. Declare among the people his doings. When he maketh inquisition for blood, he remembereth them. He forgetteth not the cry of the humble. Proverbs 2:16 through 22. To deliver thee from the strange woman, even from the stranger which flattered with her words, which forsaketh the guide of her youth, and forgetteth the covenant of her God. For her house inclineth unto death, and her paths unto the dead. None that go unto her return again, neither take they hold of the paths of life, that thou mayest walk in the way of good men, and keep the paths of the righteousness. For the upright shall dwell in the land, and the perfect shall remain in it. But the wicked shall be cut off from the earth, and the transgressors shall be rooted out of it. All right, that was January 9th's reading. What I got out of that was, I don't know really the whole story of the Abraham and Lot and all those bad things that were going on between them and giving each other's wives over and all that. It's kind of hard to keep track of because it's wrong according to um, the way things are now. And the New Testament, of course. Um, as a Christian single mom, I know that it is very wrong for um, adultery. It's very wrong for letting your wife sleep with other men. Divorce is wrong because now your wife could go off and be with someone else. And that is not what God wants. He wants men to stand up for their marriages and fight for their families and be the head of the household and follow Him. And Just like Abraham, he was a man of God, and he needed to get his wife in order, I think. I don't know, really, how come Sarah had so much power over Abraham. It seems kind of odd that she would even suggest having Hagar, her maidservant, bear a child. And I often wonder, what was their relationship like with all that going on. I mean, I could not imagine sharing my husband or even suggesting my husband go sleep with someone else. As soon as I find out that that's what was going on, um, and he had filed for divorce, I was okay with that. Like, let's get divorced because I don't want to have a marriage of sin. I don't want to live in a marriage with sin. And I want to have a godly Christian marriage, one that is following God's commandments. And I want a godly Christian man in my life who is leading my family. So it is very hard as a single mom to sit here and read through this because it doesn't make sense to me. It's kind of hard to understand. But that's the Old Testament, and now we have the New Testament that kind of corrects all of that was going on. At the same time, we got to remember the time period. Everybody came from Adam and Eve, and so there was a lot of things that are not acceptable these days that was going on during that time period because there was no other way of multiplying the earth. And the generations that were passed on, there was a lot of um, things going on that are not acceptable these days. But with that said, I do like how it talked about building your house on a rock, and not be foolish and build your house on a sand. And I think if you do not have your foundation of your home, of your marriage on Jesus Christ, as both husband and wife, and one of you falter, your marriage, your home, your relationships, they're going to fall apart. They are going to crumble. And that shows a foolish man. A foolish man is one who will allow that to happen in his home. Um, a foolish man does not um, take care of his wife. A foolish man does not take care of the responsibilities he has to uphold his home and keep it together. A foolish man will file for divorce. A foolish man will run off and have adultery. A foolish man will lie. A foolish man will sue the wife um, and take all of her money. A foolish man will not have his home built on God. And only a wise man will show the fruit. And when it was talking about the fruit of the Spirit, it was talking about that relationship that we have. The great thing about these stories with Abraham is it shows his oneness with God. He talked to God and he followed God's commandments. And when you are calling yourself a Christian, if you are following God's commandments, if you are keeping your marriages together, if you are working as three in one, with your spouse, and you are doing good things with your spouse, that is according to God and his commandments, um, being missionaries together, not necessarily going to other countries, but missionaries in your own home, and living a lifestyle of a Christian, following God and his commandments. You're not going to see Christians going to the bars or to AA meetings 6 nights a week, 7 nights a week, and not being at home with their family. You're not going to see um, Christian men running off and sleeping with other women. You're not going to see the divorce rate. If our society, if uh, the world itself stuck with these commandments that God has commanded for these families, um, there would be less trouble in this world. I think a lot of the issues that we have in this world with the children disobeying their parents is because of divorce. Um, we have major drug use among the children of divorced families. We have major suicide rates with the effects of the children of divorce. It's because they need their father and their mothers in their homes together. Um, and we as Christians, if we are calling ourselves Christians, we are to have the fruit of the Spirit in our lives, and we are to set that example. And it starts in the homes. So I do like that this chapter of the reading for today was talking about the foundation. And the foundation is to build your relationship and your life on Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior. And it does talk about the desires. As a Christian, you have no desire to run off and lie and cheat and be with other people. You want to have your family intact. You want to follow God's commandments. And love is patient. Love is kind. Love is understanding. Love is not boastful. Love is not um, a liar and a cheater. And um, when we say our vows in our marriages and our families, and we're raising our children to follow God's commandments, we also have to follow God's commandments. We have to set that example for our homes. And so, as a Christian single mom, when I'm reading through this Bible, I want to relate what I'm reading to the life of a Christian single mom, because that's what this channel is about. So, um, yes, I really liked today's reading and got a lot out of that. It reminds me of a kid when we are singing that song. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock. The wise man built his house upon the rock. And the rains came tumbling down. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. The rains came down and the floods came up. And the house on the rock stood firm. And then what did the foolish man do? He built his house on the sand, and the rains came up, and the floods came up, and the rains came down. Is what made that house go splat. So, yeah, we learn these things as young children in Sunday school, and this is the foundation. And so it's very important as parents to keep your kids in a good Bible believing church, and so they can learn these things at a young age. And then um, it doesn't do any good if you're taking your kid to a church and they're learning this, but yet you are living in sin and living in this world, and you're not setting that example in your own home. So I just want to encourage you guys to keep your focus on your relationship with God and follow His word. And I will see you in tomorrow's podcast. Have a blessed night. Bye.